Hey everybody, it's Taki117 back with Taki Space Program. We are moments away from entering the moon's sphere of influence with our communication satellite. Now, I did some back-end things that you really don't need to see. I got some more science, finished off my scan of the Earth, and I'm going to be starting another one here soon anyway, so you get a chance to see what that map looks like. And there's the moon down there. And let's go ahead and warp to the sphere of influence. Now, I almost overshot this. I completely forgot I had already performed my translunar burn as I set things up for future missions and accepted some more contracts. So, let's just say we got really lucky with this one. So here we go. And this is going to be our first satellite that actually orbits the moon. We're going to put something in lunar orbit. How cool is that? Or, the correct term is lunar orbit, excuse me. Actually, no, I do want to be pointing retrograde because I'm going to be ditching this translunar stage here, and I want it to crash into the moon. There we go, floating away. I'm gonna warp just a little bit so that it gets out of range of my solar panels here. And I'm going to point radial out. Now you're probably wondering, why am I pointing that way? Well, I'm actually coming over the top of the moon. What I'm going to do, I'm going to set my focus to the moon. And I do that by double clicking on the moon. I might have to zoom out bit here, yep. Select focus view. So now I can see the moon. I can see where I'm going. I'm going to just burn just a little bit. And I'm actually going to put this in about a 250 kilometer. Or no, I'm going to put it in a 500 kilometer orbit. Close enough. Now I want to circularize at the next periapsis, right? And then I want to change my inclination to 0 degrees. There. And that maneuver is going to take 355 meters a second. So, we're going to execute the next node. So we have plenty of delta V for all of our maneuvers here. Uh-oh. Seems that I'm not generating enough electric charge. Oh no, we're good. I must have passed through the shadow of the moon. So as you can see, I'm on not exactly efficient trajectory for my solar panels, but we'll fix that eventually. A little adjustment there. Firing that engine, that tiny little engine there, but because we're in such low gravity, it's giving us a thrust to weight ratio of 3.3, which is a lot for a tiny little probe like this. So here we go, we have been captured by the moon's orbit, or by the moon's gravity. And we've completed a milestone by putting something in orbit of the moon. Yeah, and done. Alright, execute the next node, which is our plane change maneuver to put us into an equatorial lunar orbit, or lunar orbit rather. Whee! Going around the moon here. It should be, yep, there it is. Whizzing by. See, now we're generating plenty of power. Yep, generating lots of power now. There we go. This is going to be quite a long burn, simply because of how extreme the maneuver is. As you can see, I'm changing planes, but my periapsis is also dropping. That's fine. Now, the main reason I want to get into an equatorial orbit is so that I can have coverage 90% of the time. The only times I won't have coverage is when I'm passing behind the moon, but as I get more satellites in orbit, I will be able to bounce a signal up and over the moon. Specifically, the next couple of satellites I'm going to be launching are going to be doing orbital scans of the moon so that I know where to put my probe when I land on it. The hardest part of any space program is setting up the communication infrastructure. This is why, like, the Mars missions generally have an orbiting satellite and a lander, or at least the first ones did, so that they could communicate back and forth. And there we go. One, and beautiful. Off by about 4 degrees, but you know what? That's okay. Go ahead and point prograde so that our solar panels are providing as much power as they can. And we're going to go ahead and head back to the Space Center and see what's cooking. So, eventually, my goal of this space program is to visit every planet and unlock the warp drive. Now, warp drives are means of traveling faster than the speed of light, which is, at least in our universe, a theoretical impossibility. We have 400 funds, 77 science, because I've completed a couple of contracts. Also, accepted some more. So, I have to adjust one of my satellites. Before I do that, I'm going to, yep, okay. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and adjust the orbit of one of my satellites. Because, for whatever reason, it wants to be in a different orbit. And then I'm also going to show you what my Earth biome, so you can see where it needs to be. I want to make sure it is, yep, it is going in the right direction. So we're gonna fly. It just needs to tilt just a little bit. They want better coverage or, you know, something different. It just needs to move. And this happens all the time. It's not a big deal. Something called station keeping. All satellites do it. So here we go. Loop. So we are going to change our inclination to that of our satellite, or our desired orbit. Inclination 80.2 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into there. Create node. Take 300 meters a second, which is it's fine. I mean, it's a little more than I would like, but it's not unheard of. Shouldn't take us too terribly long to execute. Too much of a burn, yeah. About a 40-second burn. It's quite a bit, actually. You can see it slowly changing. Slowly pitching over. Now, of course, my apoapsis and my periapsis are changing as well. That's okay. It actually works out because my desired apoapsis is fairly close to the apoapsis of my new orbit. So all I would really have to do is bring my periapsis down just a little bit. Yep, there we go. There, all three of them are lined up. So now I'm going to change my periapsis to 158.878 kilometers. Notice it is in kilometers and the altitude given to me is in meters, so I have to convert that. Do that at the next apoapsis. I'm going to create that node. It's only going to take me 60 meters a second. Execute it. Zoom around. Oh, that's cool. You can see the part that I'm actually scanning. Didn't realize it did that. That's actually kind of a cool thing. Execute this node. Currently connected to a Russian station, Plastics. I don't know how to pronounce it. There we go. 2, 1, and maneuver complete. I'm just gonna sit here for about 10 seconds. And there we go. So now I'm going to show you my map. Point normal positive again. I can analyze the data, transmit it. But here is the map that I've created. And it tells me what the different biomes are. Like we have grassland down here, we have desert somewhere. It just tells me where all the biomes are, basically. That's kind of a cool thing. And what surprises me is I can continue transmitting this as much as I want, but I'm not going to. So we've completed that one. We are going to... now comes a fun one. The Vostok 1 mission. So Vostok 1 was the first mission that successfully caused a person to orbit the Earth. It's piloted by a man named Yuri Gagarin, who was a Russian cosmonaut. And he launched his rocket and successfully orbited the Earth, I believe a total of 3 times before returning. Vostok was interesting because the capsule itself didn't have a parachute. What they would do is the pilot had a parachute. Once he got to a sufficient altitude, he would open the hatch and jump out. This led to some controversy in the spacefaring community because, well, he didn't actually land with his capsule, so for the longest time it was believed that the American astronaut John Glenn was the first to orbit the Earth because he actually returned with his capsule. So we are going to try to recreate at least the Vostok capsule. Except ours is going to have a parachute. Because Kerbals don't have parachutes, unfortunately. At all. That works even less. So, anyway, I can't believe they don't have anyway. So maybe we won't do Vostok. Instead, we will do our Mercury Atlas mission. Mercury Atlas 6. See if everything is in the correct order here. It appears to be. Now, Mercury Atlas 6 was John Glenn's famous mission, where he actually successfully orbited the Earth. So I'm going to go ahead and build this. It should work just fine. And we are not going to save it, since I didn't really make any changes. So we are going to try to successfully put a Kerbal into orbit. And I actually want to make that one first. That's an interesting error. I got a warp stop due to sphere of influence change for Lunar ComSat 1. Should not have changed spheres of influence because it is in a stable orbit around the moon. So perhaps it was an older warning. Yeah, it looks to be an older warning. See the dance of the cosmos going on. As the moon orbits the Earth and the satellite orbits the moon. And my spaceplane hangar is done. Let's go take a look, shall we? So the main reason I upgraded the spaceplane hangar was so I could build bigger spaceplanes. Actually looks kind of cool. It looks like I have a little tower now. Let's see. I don't really want to upgrade the runway. I could, but I don't really want to. I don't really want to upgrade my administration building either. That's probably going to be the last thing I upgrade. Don't have enough to upgrade the research facility. And the only thing that upgrading the astronaut complex gets me is an unlimited number of active Kerbals. So I don't really need to upgrade a whole lot of anything at the moment. If anything, I'd upgrade mission control, but I don't really need to do that right now. So we're just going to finish off our Mercury Atlas 6 rocket. I always like warping and seeing all the little lights come on and watching things change. Oh, there's the moon. There it is. Actually, I think I'm going to roll out my other scanner. Mostly because all it needs to do is go into a polar orbit, and then I can start scanning while while I'm doing other missions, it can scan, and that will complete another contract that I've been sitting on for a while. I go to the pad here and take a look at it. Now, the reason I'm doing that, not just putting a Kerbal into orbit first, is because, well, the Kerbal can wait. I mean, I just accepted the contract, so I have a little bit of time before it needs completed. But I'd also like to get another communication satellite up, because these scanning satellites do double as communication sats. That's just more satellites I have that I can point at things to control later. And this one does have lights. So, until next time, when we actually get around to launching this rocket, I'm Taki 117, and remember, it's only rocket science.